So really the main trade that I attempted and liked but sort of failed to execute on was the SPY opening trade. Um, I had a lot of recency bias from yesterday, and I tend to do this every now and then. And we had such a strong move down yesterday that it was hard to sort of get that out of my mind. Um, and even if I feel like even if I'm correct and maybe we are going to see some lower days here in the coming days or a week or two. Even if I was correct with that, it doesn't mean that we're going to immediately have another down day. I mean, when you look at the daily here, yeah, we had multiple down days in a row. And it can happen. I think there's two differences though with these as opposed to this. For these, you had a down day, but you had the pullback in the pre-market. So the pre-market came all the way up to the open. Then you had an even bigger day. But then overnight, again, you had a really big pullback halfway back up this candle, also, which was the low of these two candles. So, um, sure, you can have multiple. I think this is a good example of how to have successful multiple 2, 3, 4 red days in a row, and that's with a pretty good pullback. And it just so happened that the majority of these pullbacks on these days were in the pre-market, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is just look at the actual size of the sell-off. Like that's another thing to consider in terms of the probability of having another sell-off. I mean, we'd have to have pretty damn substantial news for another one to happen right away to see two of these in a row. I mean, we're talking like maybe even the COVID times, and I don't even know if we had that. I mean, we really didn't even have that. I mean, they're kind of funky. So this was a huge day, and then this day was an inside day. Then you had a gap down, or excuse me, a gap down. There's the pullback, and then it went down, and then there's multiple green days. So yeah, I think to have multiple red days in a row, even on these huge days, there's still huge pullbacks and retracements before the continuation. So it's just you just have to remember that, and I think we talk about that a lot, and I just sometimes I mess that up. Um, so yeah, I like that kind of analysis. Like even yesterday's big sell-off day, we had a pullback, and that was in the pre-market. So Friday we had the half day sell down, but then we had a really big pullback, which came almost all the way up to the penny to the open, and then it even wicked up to the same wick. So that all makes sense. And so today, did we get a pullback? No, we opened right here at the bottom. So it's like still super overextended. I mean, we're opening at the bottom of this humongous day. So if you look here, the ATR was an average of 5.7 leading up to yesterday. Well, yesterday we moved like 15, 14 to 15, somewhere in there. So we moved like 3 ATR or some shit. So we just, you know, I just have to remember that. And that's another thing why recency bias is so tricky, is because um, things don't just go straight up and they don't just go straight down. They have to pull back and flag and this and that. And um, so yeah, so price opened here, so we didn't get that pullback. If price would have opened right here, there'd been a good chance you could have shorted it right away, or you would have gotten this wick, and then soon after it would have came back down. And then you could have shorted it under 2 days ago's low. I mean, there would have been a lot more short potential as opposed to today's just almost straight up feeling. And the straight up today wasn't like a breakout type of up move with like necessarily great VPA. It was more of like a weird up move, just like a super profit taking or just a trickling up pullback because of how severe this down day was. So now that I'm kind of breaking it down, I feel like I probably would have not chickened out on my long on the open, but I wasn't really analyzing it that well. But I did try to go long right at the open right here. The 1 minute right here. So I went long right in here in these wicks, and my stop was right here. So it could have been a little bit lower because there was a lot of daily levels here, or I don't think there was as many then, but there was pre-market low and stuff. So then I ended up I cut it short early and got out. So I got in long here and then got out early right here. I just felt it's just recency bias. I just didn't believe in this support, even though this was the low from yesterday's crazy day. Pre-market action even helps you make this level even stronger. Here, even here for half hour leading up to the open, it's holding. So there's just so many times where it holds. And so I really feel like it gave you the best opportunity. The only thing it was just super high R-vol, and if you're watching the level 2 in the tape, you're just seeing it flicker like it it's flickering even more than it ever has. So that's probably what kind of got me, is the flickering. Shoot, if I had turned off the L2 and maybe the tape and just kind of done the candlesticks and used these levels, I probably wouldn't have chickened out as much, but this was going crazy. But this was really just a basic opening range. I mean, high R-vol right from the first minute, then it pulls back, stays in this range. You have the pre-market low, you have this good level. And then, it's a long here, or you can get long at the bottom near here and get in a little bit tighter. The only thing is you could easily have gotten, flushed out really quick or whatever. It's the open. That's pretty much it. It would have worked out. I would have partialed pretty quick, I think, because like I said, I had so much recency bias that I was literally planning on partialing really quickly at 452. So, I'm going to write this down and remember how to analyze these days and use, rules of thumb and probabilities on big sell-off day. We usually have a rangy day or a pullback day, etc. Where is stock opening? Did it get the big pullback? Because I did notice this morning that, when I got up around 8 a.m., I saw this pullback, but I'm like, man, that pullback was not very much. Actually, yeah, see, it didn't come all the way back up to 2 days ago's low. I just felt like the pullback isn't that bad, but it's more of how quickly it came right back down. And so I'm like, man, we're about to open up here. Normally I'm used to, this, let me get the marker out here. And I think we all are used to, like, after a big down day, we'll see this and but then we'll see it maybe come up some more. And it's like, it's already on its way and it's already pulling back. So at that point, we're probably waiting for an open that goes up, to a certain level, and then we get short again, or it goes down, maybe, to pre-market low, and then we go long again. It just kind of helps us. Like, I feel like I'm just a little more used to that. In this case, we had the pullback, but then it came all the way back down. So it gave you like a really good risk reward if this held. If this held, it makes sense that you were at least going to get to here. And then if it breaks through that, you were gonna then have some levels up here to deal with from the past 2 days. So this was the best level in my mind, and it was just sort of a basic opening range, 5-6 minute range that you could have gone long on. So that's pretty much it for that. And then all day, it just trickled up. I mean, it wasn't pretty, like. Even then, it gets above pre-market high and gets above this, but look at this crazy pullback under View App, which actually I like this though. So this isn't too bad. I mean, if I was long bias and I missed this move, like say I got long and I missed it, and then I started realizing, oh yeah, this is you know, I am more long bias if this gives me some more, because this whole time I was thinking short, but comes to VWAP, bounces, right? But then it fails and gets under VWAP. So this is a great bounce. This works as a potential VWAP, but then does sort of a double top and then gets under VWAP. So you're thinking, well, maybe short. But then right here, this is now a long, because then this tells me that this was just a pullback, and like this just really makes sense. So there's two opportunities, honestly. Now that I'm looking at it right here, or you know, you could just gone for the break of the opening range, just with the idea of this big level holding, and if it holds with high RVol, it's going to go up. And then you miss the move, pulls back, maybe you miss this one, and then gets rips through, and you're like, oh crap, well, I don't know what it's doing. It's in this big range. Maybe it's coming all the way back down here, but it quickly comes up, retests it, gets above, rips through it, and now you have sort of a fake breakdown, or even like a pennant that sort of, or like a flag that fails but then doesn't fail. So just like has another step to it, and we've seen this before. And I think this would have been a good long, or you could have waited a little longer, seen it do this, and then gone long somewhere in here. But you know, these pullbacks are nothing pretty. There are a lot of engulfing. Like look at this, like this engulfing. This is like, I feel like this is a lot of algos and stuff when you have these engulfing. So the VPA wasn't pretty. I mean, look at, there was more volume on this selling here, and then as it goes up, we have kind of decreasing volume. So wasn't a breakout discovery type of move, and I think that's why today was so tricky. But I think probably shouldn't have read into that stuff so much, and just more read into the bigger picture of what I said earlier. Super oversold in the short term from the last 2 days, didn't get the pullback. We should be long biased from this level until then, and see what we can do. And it did give some opportunities in here. And this, just want to say that this reminds me of MU's move yesterday. Yeah, here. So we had sort of an opening range, breaks out, flags, right? Has a couple different support levels that it creates, breaks down through that, retest, breaks down through it. But then, right, so this was a fake breakdown, breaks down, hit, but this is maybe even cleaner because VWAP was down here. So it breaks down, hits VWAP, then gets back above this sort of support. You could have gone long here, and I feel like I had a level here, or you could go long right here, and at least partial, maybe once here, and then at high of day, and then it failed from there. But that was like a decent, just sort of playing this range, because you have this big move, but then you have a pullback that's so fast, you get sort of an opposite move before it maybe wants to go down. But this move is so fast, and then it gives you these levels to trade around. So sort of similar to this SPY from today, like I said here, range, sort of a flag, descending triangle, breaks down, maybe we see a little bit of volume, but then sort of compresses back up, and then you get the fake breakout. That really right here, it sort of tells you, confirms, and then here it confirms even more, or even here. Like there's just like 3 different points that tells you it's continuing up. And so this is just, you know, we just have to be flexible. And I really was sort of stuck on the short today. VIX worked really well yesterday to tell me when the SPY was going to sell off, or when it was going to hit some levels. But today I had trouble doing it. If we look at the 5-minute, move all these levels. 5-minute just go straight up. Yeah, so I guess the VIX goes straight down. So to me, I guess the VIX was, it gets easier to use throughout later in the day, because then you have some ranges. So the pre-market high was a good level. So after this goes up and VIX sells down and starts to turn around, Yeah, so right here I like this because VIX starts to turn around, and then we say, okay, if we're for long SPY and selling off here, we know it's eventually going to turn around. Well, the VIX can help tell you when, because VIX is now going up as the SPY is selling down, and we know that, hey, the best level as it's going up, the best level that we have right now is this level right here, because it's pre-market high. 2 times it hit pre-market high, and it was the opening candle too. So a lot of volume, right there, even though there's not volume in the VIX. But so as soon as it gets up here, it does have a little indecision, and that's around 1050, and that's also around 1050 right here. A little bit indecision, and that was that fake breakdown and back up. So there you go. So that was sort of like a key area on when to, hey, we're up here. Hey, we're consolidating. Hey, we're fake breaking down. We get back above that level, and then we start to notice, hey, VIX respected here. I think VIX is now going back to low of day at least. And then I think this is fake breaking down, and we have the long continuation here, and we'll go to at least high of day and partial up there or whatever. And let's see, this was at 12:15 when it reached low of day. 12:15 was close to when it reached high of day again. Because it reached here, pulled back, but then quickly got back to it and then broke it, and then that's when this broke it. So there's correlation. And then here's where it gets a little dicey, because then VIX breaks low of day, and you're thinking, oh, that's, VIX is, we got breakouts happening. We have a breakdown and we have a break up. So, but then VIX comes back up and gets in again. So we're thinking more weak in the SPY, but, SPY just holds and just stays in here. And you see all these big wicks on the 5-minute, not very pretty. So it was just sort of an algo day, tricky day. So looking at the SPY now and what it could do, it almost feels like it's doing that same failed breakdown. So this was the high of the SPY. We had this September sell-off, the October bull market again. Breaks the high, pretty strong, double tops, failed to continue up here, wick, and then the sell down basically to, that recent high, which is now support, and also 450 is good psychological support. So we had a couple things here, recent high, which is now support, combined with a good psychological level, just $4 lower right there. And then you have the 100 moving average. So sort of this kind of area of like a lot of support, I guess. And then not only that, if the virus, more information comes out and it really is not that bad, then this could have been more of the unknown of the virus, which the unknown is always, not good for the market until it figures it out. If we're not talking about inflation at all, just the virus, then maybe this will be a fake breakdown, because really it breaks down, it holds here, comes up strong, and we're sort of at an inflection here, right? Because this is sort of this bigger picture range. But if like the news stayed negative, I would think eventually we would get back under and then go a bit lower. So yeah, I don't know if I'm reading into the news too much or what, but I would say that kind of technical analysis wise, not looking at the news, it was sort of got back into this old, broke through support, but then quickly got back above. So if we held this tomorrow or in the next few days, and on a daily it's a little dicey, and maybe it eventually holds, and we even get above like this 460, we could at least see, up here. And then if we held this, then it would be another, then definitely, I say if it gets above this area, it's a potential long up until here. And then if it got back above that eventually, after in here, and it gets back above here, then it's then this was just a failed breakdown, and it just used the sort of the news to kind of to do that pullback, and buyers got back in. So yeah, that's one potential, right? But then, we're having some selling here in the aftermarket, so maybe this is just a pullback, just profit taking after the selling, and so we're at an inflection. Maybe we get another wick, and then we do eventually get back under. We're kind of playing this a lot of volume range, 450, sort of it's the little separate range within the bigger idea. And then if it eventually gets under here, under 450, I would say we're going to go lower if it closes under 450. Because these 3 days are a ton of volume. So really you have this bigger support and these bigger technicals, but then these 3 days on their own have created their own sort of levels together. I mean, the tops of these two align so well that this is really strong resistance there and there. And then the first day and the third day line up right here, the inflection where we're at, and then the bottom 2 days. So we really have a really good range here of a lot of volume. I don't know if I'm just making this shit up or not, but you have that playing within this kind of bigger other idea too. And then you also have the news and everything, because, if we have strong enough news, strong enough sentiment, well, new volume can come in and rip through levels, right? So it's like the levels work and the ranges work and the breakouts work only until news gets so strong, and then it can rip through anything. But today was a great example of even with Powell's talking 2 days in a row, negative news, inflation, new virus potential, etc. Even with that, this is still a normal action for a pullback. Like, we could very well see another selling day, and this green day was exactly what should happen, which is just a pullback in a sort of a downtrend for right now. So just can't have too much recency bias and have to be flexible.